All right. We're live with Justin.
Hey.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, how's it going, John?
Good, man. So thanks for everyone who's joining us right now. We're happy to be here and kind of go over with you the concept of our Legend series, some of the gear that we used in the latest episode that we did with for the Grateful Dead, and just kind of hang out and talk gear. So I kind of want to just jump in and ask you, Justin, first, if you don't mind, to kind of introduce yourself. I know a lot of people are familiar with your torso.
Absolutely, especially in quarantine. It's usually like the neck down. This is all you see. Hey guys, I'm Justin. I do all of the guitar and bass demos, as well as pedals and amplifiers for zZounds. I've been doing it for 7 or 8 years now, we work for the marketing department, making demo videos, and we were really excited because last week we had released a Grateful Dead feature. So it was kind of a cheeky 420 released video, but we figured that making a video about the Grateful Dead would be appropriate. So that is an artist that we never featured before. So we released that video.
And they have riffs on riffs on riffs. So
absolutely.
we're gonna go over some guitar stuff. It was a given that we'd cover the Grateful Dead eventually. Happy to have done it, and the video turned out awesome. So
Thanks.
kind of stoked to go over it a little bit. Do you want to kind of just talk about the Legend series a little bit and how it kind of started with zZounds and kind of what it's kind of turned into or turning into, and what kind of the concept is behind it?
Sure, yeah. So our Legends concept, we started, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even a little longer at this point, but it's been a long-term project of ours. And the concept for Legends is essentially that we take modern gear and we use that to get classic tones. So we'll usually take a famous artist like, Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or, one of the other, classic rock classics, Legends, and focus on, getting those sounds. The only problem is, though, if I'm trying to get a tone on like Dark Side of the Moon or something, I'm not going to have a 1970s Stratocaster to use for it, right? So
Totally.
So naturally you're going to reach for a modern made Strat. And so we kind of intentionally use those new pieces of gear and then create those same sounds, and then release a cover of one of those artists' most popular tunes, or a song that we think represents their sound the best. So it's like, for instance, we did the Grateful Dead recently, and the Grateful Dead have like over 100 studio albums and live albums and everything. So it was kind of tough to decide what to go with, but naturally I gravitated towards Shakedown Street. So that's the tune that we featured for our Legends video last week. And,
Totally.
That song's got like some of the most classic like Jerry Garcia tones in it, with his Q-Tron pedal and that like quacky, bubbly tone there. So I figured if we recreated that song, it would kind of be a fun thing for people to check out. So figured we'd go over some of those sounds today.
Nice. Let's go ahead and have Pat bring up a clip of the Legend series video that we released last week. So in case anyone hasn't seen it, you can get an idea of kind of what we're going for. That sound, it's it's so identifiable. Just the quacky.
right?
I love it.
Back, maybe 10 years ago, I used to joke that that was the bubble tone, just because that sound is just, it like a kind of pops, So,
Yeah.
so I always thought that was one of the tones that I thought really represented kind of Jerry Garcia's whole thing. Most people think of that Q-Tron sound, which was a Mu-Tron, an old Mu-Tron pedal back then. But a lot of people associate his sound with that, and so I figured, okay, let's do a deep dive and really nail it. So yeah, we used an Electro-Harmonix Q-Tron Plus, and I think that kind of best nails that Mu-Tron sound.
Totally.
So I've actually got one over here.
Yeah, let's get that up on the screen. There it is.
Okay,
You
so
got producer Pat in the background taking care of the controls.
producer Pat, shout out. So we got the Q-Tron Plus over here, and like I said, that's our modern piece of gear that's gonna get that classic Mu-Tron sound. So before I kind of delve into this, this guy over here, this impending piece right here, let me go over this a little bit. So this is the Duchess, and the Duchess is a Victory pedal, and the cool part about this one though is that it's a self-contained like amp in a box. So what I did with this is I actually ran straight through this just directly into my interface and recorded a lot of the source tones for the video just straight through this. So it has a really great sound. I'll give you a kind of a, I'll play some for you right now with it. So yeah, it's just got this really like rich tone,
Yeah.
and the onboard reverb is even really good too. So you can hear it's kind of got a nice sound,
Yeah, that's incredible. And that's going just right into your interface. And then, is there anything going on once it hits the interface, or is it just going right into the DAW?
No, it's going straight into the DAW. So I kind of wanted to intentionally not add anything to the signal chain, just because I could do a million things to that sound to like doctor it up and
Sure.
try to fool everybody that it sounds better than it is. But for this, I wanted it to be like a totally honest representation of this. So
And it sounds incredible too. So you really don't even need anything else on there, I feel like.
absolutely, yeah. So I recorded absolutely every single guitar track with the Duchess. So if that doesn't say something, I don't know what does. So, but the thing's
Totally.
great. Yeah. I'm on my fourth pickup position right now, so it's a little bit darker, but the range on it's super cool. It's got an onboard 3-band EQ, so I really liked that up here, and it has a typical range for an amp, so you can get some kind of bright like stingy tones,
Yeah.
But the range on it's crazy. Like you could totally roll off your signal there. So so
Yeah.
so yeah, it's pretty great. I feel like bass, middle treble's pretty much all you need, right?
So I know a lot of times like the Victory amps are kind of like loosely modeled off of more iconic amps. Is the Duchess? Is it like closer like a Fender amp or a Marshall amp, or what's kind of the tone that people would be familiar with, if they were to grab that?
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Victory usually does have separate types of amps that really kind of nail one specific flavor of amplifier. And in this case, the Duchess is supposed to go for an American sound. So yeah, we're mostly talking about just that Fender sound. So
Yep.
I think it does really well. I think the reverb even sounds pretty close to like a tube reverb sound. So yeah, it's like that Fender tone. And
Yep.
since Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir on the original Shakedown Street were, to my knowledge, I believe they're playing twin reverbs on that. It felt like this was.
You
the
better not
perfect
be
piece.
wrong.
Yeah,
People are gonna let you know, dude.
get flamed in the comments. Yeah. I
But no, I
apologize
feel like
if I'm wrong.
They're such a good pedal platform to begin with, but then also just their tone by themselves is perfect too, if that's what you're going for, a nice kind of clean sound there with a little bit of breaking up. Did you find yourself kind of like going through like the whole spectrum of the pedal for different sounds like while you're recording the video, or did you kind of stick to like one basic foundation and then put some effects on top of that for the different parts?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A little of both, actually. Initially, when I was exploring the pedal, I really liked the sound of the pedal like I have it now, where preamp volume is maybe about 50% up, master volume is sitting around 60 or 75%, and I really liked that because I get like a little bit of power tube saturation style with the master cranked, and then just kind of adjusted my preamp volume for grit. I really liked that sound though. So yeah, I used that for like the basic tone for the majority of the tones, at least at first.
Yeah.
And then once I started introducing the Q-Tron in, this is a whole different beast. So this guy definitely adds a lot of extra gain, especially. So when I started introducing the Q-Tron into the signal chain, then I really kind of started adjusting it to work
Nice.
better with that pedal.
Yeah,
But
definitely. I feel like it's always good to start with like a solid foundation, and then once you get everything kind of up and running in the chain, then you kind of go back and tweak things here and there. How was it?
Absolutely.
How was it dialing back in the tone that you did on the video? Did you have to kind of search for it again, or was it kind of you're like, all right, this is where it was set. We're good to go.
I mean, I wish I could have just found it really easily again, considering how long it was to record it. But funny enough, I still had to go diving because again, that Q-Tron, it's just a whole different beast. So I had to kind of search for it again, like you said. But I feel like I got really close to it again, so I'm happy with it.
Nice. Yeah,
But
you want to go ahead and kick it on and
let her rip.
let her rip, as they say.
So here's like the basic Q-Tron tone that I used, and you'll notice on the settings right there that I'm using the low pass mode over here on the left, and then I'm using the range knob also on the low setting. So that's going to give kind of more of a that kind of bubbly tone, like I was saying before. So you'll hear that, and I used that for the basic kind of general tone for it. Here you go. This is it. So
Nice.
as you can hear, yeah, that's that classic sound. So super simple setup though. That was for the most part really all I used for the main track. I believe I dialed in a little bit of compression on it afterwards, of course, just to kind of thicken it up, smooth it out. But yeah, that was how I used the Q-Tron to get that main track. So, which Pat had played earlier for us. So you hear it, But yeah, that was that Jerry Garcia tone. So one thing you'll notice about the Q-Tron is it's gain dependent. So obviously the harder you hit it, the more the filter's gonna get hit. So if you pick really softly, you can basically make it sound like there's no filter at all. So
Interesting.
but if you hit it harder, the filter starts to open up more. So yeah,
The
you can do
quackier it
those,
gets.
yeah, exactly. So you can get those super vocal kind of dynamic changes, like where you can go like a something like that. So
I know. I almost want to like lip sync to it, because
You should.
like every time you hit a note, I just want to go like wow,
Yeah.
because it has that vocal kind of sound to it, which I just think is super super cool.
Yeah.
So I've never really messed with the Q-Tron, personally, but have you are you seeing it in a lot of modern music, or is it kind of like that era was just really kind of defined, or the pedal was defined by that era rather?
Yeah, I'll see it every once in a while. It definitely pops up, but obviously, probably a lot of funk guys are the ones that are gonna be rocking these pretty hard. But yeah, it always, never ceases to amaze me how the pedal gets incorporated in other settings, especially when you use overdrives and things with it. You can get some really grimy tones that are super interesting. But yeah, you don't really see it a whole lot nowadays.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it was kind of the heyday was the 60s, 70s.
Would you say can you? I feel like I've heard. I was actually just watching like a video with Thundercat on it. Is it a big bass thing too, or like are people using it on bass a lot? Like, because I know he had kind of a tone that was similar to that, and maybe I'm just being oblivious to the Q-Tron life, but I was like, oh wow, that sounds really cool. Similar to the sound that you had going on in the Legends video that which we're talking about here.
I think that there might be a bass version of the Q-Tron as far as I know. But yeah, bass players will definitely use auto-wise all over the place because you just get that like really resonant, kind of blown out sound. But yeah, it's super vocal, and I just really love that about it. So yeah, as far as I know, bass players are still using it a whole hell of a lot.
Nice. So you're holding a PRS, the John Mayer Strat, correct?
I sure am. Yes.
Yeah. You want to talk about that guy for a little bit? What made you pick that guitar up over some others while you're doing the video?
Well, it was funny how that came about. We kind of like endlessly tried to figure out what would be the best guitars for it, and we ended up settling on this and an Epiphone ES335.
Mm-hmm.
The Epiphone ES335 obviously was like a Bob Weir staple guitar he used to use, especially in the early period. He was constantly playing one of those, so I recorded the Bob Weir parts with the 335. But for Jerry Garcia's part, he had all of those custom guitars and everything, so we ended up kind of making kind of an interesting move to use this guitar because we figured John Mayer, he's now playing with the Dead and everything, so because this guitar came out recently, we figured, okay, let's see if we can get Jerry Garcia tones with John Mayer's new guitar, and it ended up working really well. So I was happy with it.
Well, I wonder if that was like a conscious decision on their end when designing it. I can't remember when the time lapse overlap with him, joining the Dead and then the guitar coming out, but it seems very fitting.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure either, actually. I don't know if that coincides too, but I would not be surprised. But it's such a great guitar. Feels really good. It's got these John Mayer pickups in it, all three of these. Super cool. I actually played it at a rehearsal as well, out of a completely different amp rig. It was a Marshall clone amp, and that sounded really cool with it as well. So, we did the clean Fender sound, and then I did the super distorted kind of Marshall sound, and it worked really well. So it seems to be a pretty versatile guitar. And again, I recorded the majority of the tracks on this video with this guitar. So I figured I'd show you guys some of the tones with it today.
Nice. Do you want to, should we have Pat cue up one of the solo parts from the video?
Yeah.
And kind of go over that? Yeah. Let's take a look. Man, that just makes me want to go to a festival and dance and just listen to some music, man. That's great.
Right.
So did you know that solo before, or did you kind of learn it for the video?
No. I had heard the song for years, never learned it. So this was a cool kind of deep dive into that solo. I really like it because you just hear all that weird like jazz, bluegrass, rock crossover influence in his playing, and it was super cool. So you can hear it in even the first couple phrases. So I kind of went with the neck pickup on it for this and dialed in some extra bass on the pedal, a little bit more mids and a little bit more treble for like a little bit of stabbiness. But it's kind of like that tone. I'll dial in maybe a little bit more preamp distortion too, so you can hear it. So all those little licks like that he was doing.
Yeah.
So those are all really cool. I like especially those little like chromatic, lines like that. Those are really, really cool. That's like quintessential Jerry Garcia right there. So, and all those weird like volume changes he always does. I liked that. It was a cool solo. But yeah, it was just the Duchess totally dry. So I really I thought that was super interesting. thought I'd have to mess around with the sound more, but just sounded really good right out of the box. So
Yeah. No, like when you're going for a tone, I feel like sometimes it's like you'll overshoot it, you know, and then you're like, wait a second, that's not exactly what I need, and then you start taking things off, and then you're like, oh, what I need is just this simple, foundation of a tone that just sounds really good.
absolutely.
When you were kind of learning the solos or just the parts in general, I guess for the video, what was kind of the most challenging part? Other than just the technicality of the playing, was there like little signature moves, kind of like you just mentioned with the volume trick, like those little things that you kind of were like, all right, I need to nail this because it's signature to that sound or whatever?
The hardest part was just trying to sound like Jerry Garcia, because I always struggle with these Legends videos, and that's like my own little personal challenge for him, is to try to actually make it sound legitimate,
Yeah, yeah.
And so you really got to like get into like the tiniest little details they're playing, because those seem to make all of the difference in kind of getting those sounds. Obviously, the gear is a huge part about that too. But yeah, the hardest part and the most fun part is all the little details.
Yeah.
Specifically the Q-Tron, like I mentioned before. This one, when I was dialing it in, it was funny because I was trying to get that tone for the intro, and I like was so close, so I would just like nudge the gain knob like a fraction of a notch, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. Then I would hit a note way too hard and just blow out the recording, and like it was just way too loud. And then I'd like go back and just like adjust it like a teeny little bit again and try again and mess it up and just go back and just I'm moving knobs like the tiniest little bits. And once I got it dialed in, though, it all fell into place. But yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle at first. But
Nice, man. And you're doing all this from home too, so
I am. Yes.
How have you kind of have you made changes to your home studio? Since having to starting to do everything at home, or has it grown, or have you taken things away, or what's kind of the setup you're working with?
So yeah, it's also funny you mentioned that, because yeah, we used to record at work. We had our own studio there, and after many years of recording there, it was kind of a little bit of a shock to just get thrown back into my small home setup and still have to churn out good stuff. So I ended up expanding the recording setup quite a lot. Added an analog rack and got a new interface, an 1176 style compressor, VCA compressor, a whole bunch of preamps. Actually built a couple preamps for it. Added
Nice.
a patch bay, and just kind of like changed my monitor setup and just basically tried to dial everything in.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Added a bunch of studio gear. Yeah.
Hey man, when you're hanging out at home, it's like what better to spend your money on than more gear.
Absolutely.
It's like, wait a second, I'm not in the studio, so I'm gonna need this now.
Yeah.
Total justification.
It's the biggest like danger zone ever. 'Cause you're like, yeah, I definitely need like an eighth preamp right now, and I probably don't at all, but I just want it. Like, oh yeah, that would be great to record this synthesizer right here. So I need an entire new preamp just for this synth. It's like,
Totally.
all my friends are like, how many of those do you have right now? So,
That's awesome, man. Well, is there kind of any? I know because we did a keyboard part, which I don't know if we have the keyboard set up, but do you want to kind of talk about what you used for the keyboard part, and and kind of like the process of picking the sounds for that?
oh yeah, absolutely. So I ended up using a Yamaha YC61, which was super fun. I mean, I got a lot out of that thing because it does like basically everything. There's a whole organ setup. It's got a bunch of stage piano sounds, like acoustic pianos, electric pianos, a whole bunch of synths. So like the thing did an overwhelmingly large amount. But funny enough, I only needed one sound from it, but it did that one sound incredibly well. So I ended up using I think it was the 76 RD sound, which was supposed to be, or 73 RD, I believe. It was just supposed to be an early 70s Fender Rhodes piano. So I ended up using that, fed it through a Walrus Audio Lillian pedal,
Nice.
some phaser there, which
Yeah.
is usually a guitar pedal, but I really liked the sound of it on the keyboard. And then I put a little bit of chorus as well, and it sounded like that kind of nailed the original sound. It's really fun. I mean, that was one of my favorite parts to learn because I'm the least experienced at keyboard. So learning all of those parts was kind of eye-opening for like the dead sound,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I had a lot of fun with that. But it was a YC61 keyboard. So
Nice. Yeah, and those we actually just did a live stream with Yamaha on those keyboards, and they're incredible. I mean, I feel like I'm so into gear where I'm just like that's amazing to like everything I see, but like no joke with the YC series kind of covers it all when it comes to just being a stage keyboard. So shout out to Yamaha if you guys are watching, and thanks for doing that stream with us recently. So
yeah, serious shout out. It was really cool. And he's a far better keyboard player than I am, so it's worth a watch.
oh dude, Blake, maybe we'll get Blake in here and we'll do like a collaboration live jam.
That would
There's
be
an
unreal.
idea.
It'd be unreal, yeah.
Nice, man. Well, let's if we don't mind, I want to kind of look at the Duchess just a little bit more,
Sure, yeah.
and kind of see what those where those settings are, and kind of ask you, as far as having just a preamp pedal rather than just an amp. What are kind of the differences? Like, what are you limited with just the pedal, or does it kind of totally replace having the actual head, or
Yeah, kind of. I would say there's certain differences, like when you push the master volume, it's not totally quite going to saturate like turning a tube amp up. You won't get quite the same level of saturation, but it gets pretty close. So for me transitioning over to like the quarantine home setup, it was like alarmingly satisfying when I first plugged it in. I was like, man, this is just like so easy now. So
yeah,
so it does like most of what an amp head would do. But having played the Duchess like real amp head as well, there's only maybe differences in like the highest gain settings. So that's my opinion. But
nice.
yeah, otherwise it much nails it. So
Yeah, I feel like for a home, I mean, not just a home setup. I feel like there's a lot of gear that we're using nowadays that we're using because of being at home, but it's not just limited to using at home. These I feel like these are perfect for, especially when people are going overseas. So having like a fly rig or something, where you can just throw a couple pedals in there and then boom, and have your guitar. You don't have to worry about shipping an amp or the backline rental having the right amp or
Yep.
anything like that. I feel like it really just kind of covers what you need, and you have it. You don't have to depend on anyone else, and boom, you can set it up, and you're good to go.
absolutely, yeah, for sure. These work super cool with other pedals, in a chain too. So you could even theoretically run this into the front end of an amp if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So that's also some pretty cool stuff. You also route it into a PA and kind of use it that way as well for other instruments. So it seems to be pretty awesome.
Nice. And then just going back to, I was kind of asking you about the keyboard a little bit too. Did you just for fun kind of try running it through the Q-Tron or the preamp pedal or anything like that, or were you just kind of using the Lillian pedal for that one?
So I wanted to, but I was like a little bit terrified if I fed the keyboard into the Q-Tron that I would just like explode my setup just by hitting a key too loud. So I ended up just running it into my hardware here, and I think I ran it into a little bit of a few of the preamps. I got these like Neve clone preamps that were pretty sweet, so it kind of like pushed it a little bit. But other than that, no, it was just straight in, dry, really cool Fender Rhodes style sound. So
Yeah, I dig it, and it's funny because I remember when I was talking to Corey from Earthquaker Devices, and I was kind of asking him about their design approach to their pedals now, and it's like it's not just strictly guitar, focused. It's what would this sound like with a electric violin, or what would this sound like with a saxophone, or
Yep.
what would this sound like with a keyboard, or synthesizer, anything like that. I love how the just the way it's moving is it's not as limited just to guitar players anymore, which
Right.
is super cool.
It's a beautiful time to be alive.
Yeah, right. Exactly, dude.
Yeah,
So
there's
much awesome gear.
Yeah, the world of pedals is just like exploding, obviously. So, like, we work here, and I still struggle to keep up with everything that's coming out. So,
Yep.
it's so great. There's just a million cool things, and yeah, there's this whole wide world of people who are playing like trumpet out of effects and saxophone, and even though that's been done for a long time, yeah, it's just getting so much easier to do it. So it's just really cool.
Totally. Well, is there anything else you wanted to kind of fill us in on that I'm maybe missing about kind of what you your technique, recording technique, or any of the gear. Or, I mean, it was pretty simple setup. I feel like when it comes down to it.
Absolutely, yeah. It was incredibly simple, and that kind of is in line with what we wanted the Legends concept to be. We want it to be something that's like not out of reach for the average musician. That's
Totally.
actually our entire point of it. We want to make sure that when you're, at home, for instance, and you want to try your hand at recording a song or even just getting the tone just to play it, that it's easy and that it's accessible, and you could just pick up like an Epiphone 335 and run it through like this, this pedal and just get the tone right there.
Yeah.
You don't have to feed it through a million things and do this like 10 pedal chain to get the sound. It's just literally a few key pieces of gear. So I feel like that's my favorite part about the Legends concept.
Definitely. I think there's a misconception sometimes when people hear a tone, they're like, oh, I mean, I'll be honest, some tones are incredibly hard to replicate, and I don't think anyone should, have the power to 100% replicate someone else's tone, because then that takes the whole individuality part out of it. But you can get pretty dang close, I feel like, with, a couple of the right tools, and, and a lot of it too is, people say the tone is in the fingers, but I honestly kind of agree with that a little bit. Sometimes it's the technique you're playing, and then, and just the way you're attacking the strings and things like that.
Sure, yeah. I agree. I think, like they always say like, oh, you can plug into Jimi Hendrix's exact rig, but you're not going to sound like Jimi Hendrix,
No.
So, but I mean, for most people nowadays, if you get the gear, get some practicing, you're going to eventually get there if that's what you like. So
Yeah, totally.
So we're kind of just like trying to put that in front of people's ears and be like, you know what, this is actually doable. Like you could just spend like a decent amount of money and get like whatever band sound you want. So it's been this cool experiment we've done over the years, and I always get really excited to do the Legends videos. So yeah, it's just one of my favorite projects to work on here at zZounds.
That's awesome, man. And we'll probably be seeing a lot more of those to come. So keep your eye out if you haven't checked out our Legend series yet. We have the whole Legend series going back until, when did you guys start the actual? It was Legends of Tone, and now it's Legend series.
Yes.
But it's been around for the last 4 or 5 years, right?
At least I think we started that in, I want to say 2014 or maybe 2015, but yes, it was Legends of Tone, and then more recently we changed it to Legends and kind of expanded the concept. So
Yeah, because it's not just guitar players and stuff anymore. I mean, there's tone from all kinds of musicians and instruments, and yeah, exactly. So we'll drop a link to the full playlist of all the Legend series videos for you guys to watch if you haven't checked them out. All of the gear that you see in this video and the video that we released last week, you can grab at zZounds. We've got links to zZounds.com where you can find all that stuff there in our featured links. So if anyone has any questions about the gear, feel free to ask them in the comments, and we'll get back to them. And yeah, we'll look forward to talking again soon, Justin. I know we technically work together, but we've been separated all this time, man. It's nice to get back on just a hang sesh with you. So
absolutely,
really appreciate it, man. And yeah, I guess I think there's one more clip we didn't check out though, right? That Pat had, or am I wrong?
Oh no, yeah, there is another solo.
Let's dive into that solo actually,
sure.
real quick.
Okay. Sounds good. So Jerry.
Great stuff, man. Yeah, I know. There maybe one of these days you can teach me to play one of those solos. But
yeah, man.
As of right now, I just want to go outside and like grill some hamburgers and like listen to some Grateful Dead and
Absolutely.
be
Yeah.
outside. I love it. Perfect timing for the video to drop.
It's
Getting the warmer weather coming.
it's so nice outside right now. Yeah, it's so nice. But that tone was so fun. Just it was like a little bit more grit on it, but that first lick just always gets me. Ooh, what is it? It's just so Jerry Garcia.
Nice.
It's just really fun. Just a lot of fun licks. But yeah, the thing kind of starts getting a little bit pushed when I kind of turn up that preamp gain, so it sounds really nice. I like
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's not just a clean amp, you know.
Totally.
Sounds really nice. So
Awesome, man.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, that about wraps it up. So, yeah, if anyone has any questions for Justin or I, about the gear, about the recording process, just about the playing, or you want to let us know what your favorite Grateful Dead song is or solo, feel free to drop it in the comments, and we'll obviously debate about it. So,
100%. Yes.
but cool, man. Alrighty, we'll leave it on that note there, and I hope everyone has a great day and rest of their week here, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, John.
Alrighty, see you, everybody.
See you guys.